Nação flamenguista, o Flamengo vencendo o Chelsea, né? E o Flamengo virou assunto nos principais programas de TV da Inglaterra, pessoal. Pois é, todo mundo discutindo a atuação do Flamengo, né? Tirando o chapéu para a atuação do Flamengo, sem sombra de dúvida. O Flamengo, além de ter colocado os ingleses na roda, né? Chamou a atenção, né? Da mídia europeia, dos ingleses, né? Destacando a boa atuação do Flamengo. Para eles, o Flamengo é um forte candidato a ganhar o título. Pois é, pessoal. Colocando o Flamengo aí como um forte candidato a ganhar o título, né? E a expectativa do torcedor flamenguista, claro, se não der para ganhar, mas pelo menos chegar ali numas quartas, numa semi, para mim já seria um título, né? E o que será? O que será que a mídia da Inglaterra, a imprensa da Inglaterra está achando sobre essa atuação do Flamengo, onde o Flamengo não tomou conhecimento e passou por cima do Chelsea, né? Vamos acompanhar o vídeo aí, pessoal. O crédito do vídeo vai para a ESPN da Inglaterra, link vai estar aqui na descrição. Final do vídeo deixa a minha opinião. Vamos acompanhar aí, vamos ver.
Looking good for parts of the first half, just completely throwing the towel in the second. Flamengo then with a 3-1 victory. Taking a look at what that means in the group. Well, Flamengo sit top of the table, Chelsea sitting in second, LAFC of course in action later today. Frank Leboeuf is with us. Frank, how much do we read into this game?
First, congratulations to Flamengo. As you said, you know, we seem to be the South American team, especially Brazilian team. They take it seriously, in contrary to some European teams, and they give a lesson to Chelsea. Because if we're going to talk about Botafogo with Paris Saint-Germain after, where it was more, you know, sitting back and working hard, not really joga bonita game, you know, today. Flamengo, they went for it. They played a great game, and they used the weaknesses of Chelsea, which is defensively sometimes not knowing what's going on behind them, and they did the differences. On top of it, Jackson helped them out, you know, doing that stupid foul for the the red card. But there is nothing much to say. Flamengo highly deserved to win that game. They were better than Chelsea. They worked harder. They were committed, and Chelsea is finished fourth in the Premier League, yes, but we all know there are sometimes some stuff which doesn't work with Chelsea because they're still a young team, and today they lost it. They lost it mentally. They didn't have any creativity enough, in a way, and defensively they were nowhere near it.
Chelsea finished fourth in a very average Premier League, and you know that, it's very average Premier League. I mean, Liverpool had the league won by January. City were terrible, and Arsenal fell over themselves. Yeah, I mean, it's going to look. Let me put it one way, and somebody has to tell the people that are doing commentaries in these games, right? Somebody has to get in their thick skulls. The South Americans take it seriously, and the only serious team, the only team that take it serious from the Europeans are Real Madrid, right? Paris Saint-Germain lost to Botafogo. Paris Saint-Germain, it's less than 3 weeks since they won the Champions League final. 5-0 against Inter. A proper match. A proper team who turned up on that day and wiped the floor with one of the best defensive teams in Europe. That's elite level football. This is kid stuff.
But having said that, looking at that Chelsea starting 11, yeah, but I'm not dwelling on today. I'm just dwelling on Chelsea overall as we look ahead to start the new season. It's very blur. You look at that Chelsea, and if I'm a Chelsea fan, and Frank rightly says, obviously they finished fourth in the Champions League and the FU from Enzo and all this sort of stuff. Yeah. But if I'm a Chelsea fan, what am I excited about? At the start of the season, what am I hanging my hat on that we are going to see big improvements from this side? Liam Delap.
I played with Liam's dad, Rory, and Liam Delap is a good player. And my God, he's got the heart of a lion. And he's physical. But he was at Man City, and that's where Maresca knows him from as a kid. He did great at Ipswich. But this is a huge step. And when we talk about the elite level teams in England needing to go to the next level, they're all looking for these strikers, Man United, even Liverpool, Arsenal. They're all looking for these strikers that are game changers, that are job savers, and you know, I just don't think Liam Delap is going to be that for him. And if I'm a Chelsea fan, have as much trepidation about next season as I had about last. There's nothing that has convinced me that it's going to be any more consistent. There's nothing that convinced me that they're going to take a step forward. Liverpool, how do you take a step forward? You go out and you make a statement and you sign one of the most creative players in world football. That's a statement. Arsenal need to make a statement, and I feel Chelsea have not, and that would be a concern for Enzo Maresca. And quite frankly, if they fell out the top 4 next year, I wouldn't be surprised.
I think that's it, Shaq, innit? And Chelsea fans to say, look, no one expected us to finish in the top 4, and we did. It was a very mediocre league. And the thing is, we watch a lot of football, and when it's right, we've got to watch Chelsea.
Right.
And as a Chelsea supporter, surely, in your heart of hearts, you know you don't want to be paying a season ticket to watch what they say.
Absolutely. And which is what you use in this tournament, albeit you could package it as a pre-season friendly or friendlies for so many European clubs, but you want to see a spark of what's to come. And to your point, there's not a whole lot to hang your hat on, because let's be honest, Flamengo is the better football. Played all the football in this game. In Chelsea's defence, I thought Delap and Neto, nice partnership, but again, nice, nothing really to...
Palmer looked lost on the right.
And that's the thing for me. And as much as I thought that Delap and Neto looked good together as a front two, you had nothing to discuss about Cole Palmer. And then you're thinking, well, okay, there's going to be a little bit of a competition between Delap and Nicholas Jackson for that striking position, and then pre-season friendly or not, you cannot. Your position's under threat. You cannot do that.
What do you do with him, Shaq?
Well, right now I'm not sure what you can do with him. He signed what, 9 years back in December, or something ridiculous like that. And now you bring in Liam Delap as a challenger. You would think at this point, and Nicholas Jackson is doing his best to be in Maresca's bad books here. You know, even in a game such as this, whether you want to call it a preseason friendly or not, you do not leave. You do not leave your teammates in the lurch with that kind of a challenge, and that for me was a huge negative for Nico Jackson, and as a result, now from Maresca, you're wondering, to your point, what next? And really, you've only got one answer in Delap.
To be fair to them, the first half of last season, they were really good, and then, along with Man City, the cliff just came along, and they finished in the top 4 because the Villas and the others sort of fell over themselves and came with a late run, and it was too late. He can have as bad a Club World Cup as he wants, Enzo Maresca, right? And we'll sit here and we'll talk about it. And if they go home with their tail between the legs, so be it. He will be hired and fired and judged on how they do in the Premier League, the cup competitions, particularly the Premier League and the Champions League. If they completely balls the Champions League up, they'll get rid of him. They'll get rid of him, and then they'll move on to the next project, whatever the hell that is. And so he knows that. So in some sense, this is preparation for him for the season, because he can get the wrinkles out now, and there's a lot. But if he doesn't get them out properly, and if he doesn't fix it, and if he doesn't sort it, and they're languishing in the Premier League, and they're struggling and falling behind everybody else in all the elite level competitions, he's going to go the same way as the rest. And it's as pure and simple as that. That's, for him, is all about how they perform in England and in the Champions League next year.
And this is it, Frank. And Chelsea fans can say, oh, look, ESPNFC being so negative. But you just look at their run that they had over those 2 months, where, of course, they put in excellent results, no question. Obviously, they put in those results at exactly the right time. But you look at those games, and there was hardly a time that you're like, wow. You know, Chelsea are really clicking here. They're really gelling. They have really got something going here. It was all about, you felt, getting over the line, and it would be my main concern if I'm a Chelsea fan going into the start of next season.
Well, your main concern should be that you all know, I mean, we all know, because we've been football players, because we know football, that they are fragile, that they're not consistent, therefore you know that you don't know where you're going to go. That's the trick. You don't know where you're going to stand. One game is going to be perfect, and the...
Pessoal, uma coisa que é certa, né? Os ingleses aí se surpreender com o futebol do Flamengo, né? E o Flamengo está demonstrando nesse Mundial que pode ser campeão mundial. Por que não? O Flamengo passou pelo Chelsea, pessoal, que recentemente foi campeão, recentemente quarto colocado no campeonato da Inglaterra, né, na Premier League. Então, o Flamengo desbancou um grande, né, do futebol europeu, né? E agora os olhares se voltam para o Flamengo, né?
3 days after, they're gonna get something horrendous. So you don't know where you go, you don't know where you stand, and you know that because they showed it during some seasons ago and last season also. As we said, they finished fourth because the league wasn't good last season. And I think if you want too much from, or you expect too much from Chelsea, you're a fool. You're really a fool, because you know everything is settled on something very fragile. They don't have, again, as I always demanded, an experienced players or 2 or 3 experienced players where you can put the basics on. You are betting on young players who can do great things but suddenly lose it. That's what it is. And as long as you are working that way, it's going to last that way. So it's hard to say, oh, next season is going to be different. No, it's not going to be different unless they buy those players that I want deeply and praying for. But it's not going to happen. It's not the way of thinking the football.
And you know, they're waiting for him now, aren't they? Maresca. After you mentioned it, after the sort of expletives.
The FU, yeah.
You know. Who was it? He's giving it a FU. Yeah. The lot of you. You know, you said we couldn't do it. No, nobody said that. You said we were too young. You said FU. And you know what? You know what the tabloids are like. You know what the journalists are like. And I'm not criticising them. And rightly so. They will wait. And they will be fair. But they will remember. And if it goes wrong, and it might not, might be okay, might be great. But if it goes wrong, they will remember the sort of stance that he took. And they will come down on him even harder. And when they come down on him harder, then the supporters take more note and he becomes under more pressure. So sometimes you reap what you sow. And I didn't think that was very clever from him at the end of last year. And I think it's put a little bit more pressure on him at the start of this season.
Just a word on Nico Jackson. What do you do with him?
I've always said, and maybe this will be for Liam Delap as well, in the sense that if Chelsea want to get to the next level, and back to the levels where they have been, in all fairness to them, with some serious money being spent, particularly with Roman Abramovich, is Nico Jackson is nothing more, apart from the odd period we've seen last year at the start of the season, nothing more than a squad player. You're not going to win the league.
And you've got a squad player who seems unhappy.
And who didn't finish the season particularly well after starting the season very well. I think he's okay to come off the bench. I think he's okay to play in cup competitions, but he's not going to take you to the level where the Chelsea hierarchy want to get. That's going to take a front man who's costing a lot of money and who's got a proven track record. And I don't see any of them out there that are going to go to Chelsea at this moment in time.
Pois é, nação, o Flamengo ganhando do Chelsea, arrancando elogios aí da mídia europeia, né, da mídia da Inglaterra, né, os ingleses, né, reconhecendo aí o trabalho de Felipe Luiz, o trabalho do Flamengo, o bom jogo que o Flamengo fez, né? Sem sombra de dúvida, arrancou olhares aí de todo mundo, né? Principalmente da mídia internacional, né? Eu digo aqui que o Flamengo esse ano fez sua melhor apresentação, né? Se fosse num formato antigo de Mundial, né? O Flamengo ganhou do Esperança, estava na final e tinha vencido o Chelsea, seria campeão mundial, né? Mas eu digo sempre aqui que esse novo formato de Copa do Mundo aí dos clubes, né? Se um clube brasileiro chegar a ganhar, vale por 5, 6, 7, 8 mundiais, pessoal. E logo na primeira fase você já enfrenta um europeu, né? Aí pode pegar um europeu nas oitavas, nas quartas, na semi e na final. Pode não, é quase certeza, né? Aí se o Flamengo vai pegar aí o Benfica ou o Boca, né? O Boca ganhou uma grande oportunidade que foi de ganhar do Benfica, não conseguiu. E agora vai decidir, né? Mas é isso, né? Porque a gente espera que o Flamengo mantenha o mesmo desempenho aí durante a competição, né? Não adianta querer se acomodar apenas numa vitória em cima do Chelsea. Foi importante, foi bom, foi bonito, jogou bem, encantou todo mundo, encantou os torcedores, encantou toda a mídia, não só a brasileira como a mídia europeia, mas eu acho que tem que manter o ritmo, né? Manter o desempenho. Se pegar o Boca ou o Benfica, para mim o Flamengo passa. Nas quartas de final não sei quem possa vir, não tenho noção, talvez, acho que é o Fluminense ou o Borussia, né? Se eu não me engano, né? Mas o Flamengo, tem muita gente aí da mídia alternativa, né, que cravou o Flamengo campeão, né? Inclusive Cicinho, né, do programa Os Donos da Bola, ele disse que ele foi bem claro para ele antes de começar, viu, pessoal? Não foi, e tem aqueles que dizem que entendem de futebol e antes de conversar disse que os times brasileiros ia passar vergonha no Mundial, né? E não é isso que a gente tá vendo, né? Não é isso que a gente tá vendo, os times brasileiros ganhando dos europeus. E principalmente, né, o Flamengo ganhando, vencendo e convencendo, jogando muita bola, né? Isso aí é o que deixa o torcedor flamenguista animado, né? Ok, o Flamengo... Eu também era um dos que dizia que o objetivo do Flamengo era passar por umas oitavas, né? E não passar vergonha. Então, até agora, o Flamengo não passou vergonha, pelo contrário. Eu acho que é um dos destaques da Copa do Mundo de Clubes, né? Agora já estão olhando para o Flamengo com outro olhar, né? O que a gente espera agora, como eu disse, manter, passar das oitavas, caso seja Benfica ou Boca, e nas quartas de final aí, se pegar o Borussia, né? Fazer um jogo duro, né? Eu acho que dá para fazer um jogo duro, né? O Fluminense fez. O Fluminense era para ter ganho o jogo, né? Perdeu o gol, vários gols. Mas é isso, uma Copa do Mundo aí que está mostrando, devido ao país que os Estados Unidos, a gente sabe que não tem identificação com futebol, né, pessoal? Acho que talvez fosse uma Alemanha, uma Inglaterra. Para mim, eu acho que deveria ter sido na Inglaterra, numa Alemanha, né, num Portugal. País que tem identificação com futebol, né? Não sei porquê, quiser levar logo para os Estados Unidos, né? Porque talvez incentivar mais o futebol, não sei. Mas é isso, né? Flamengo aí arrancando olhares da imprensa internacional, né? Dos ingleses, né? Talvez eles não esperassem essa atuação que o Flamengo teve contra o Chelsea, né? Eu vou ser bem realista, pessoal. Eu esperava o Flamengo fazer um jogo duro com o Chelsea, né? Mas eu não esperava o Flamengo jogar a bola que jogou, né? O Flamengo foi dominante do início ao fim. Acho que o torcedor flamenguista ficou feliz, né? E o torcedor da Inglaterra ficou imaginando, esse aí é o Flamengo que muito dizia que ia passar vergonha no Mundial. Pelo contrário, venceu, convenceu, passou, tratou, e os adversários agora estão preocupados, né? Preocupados porque sabe que vai ter aí um Flamengo casca dura pela frente, né? Um Flamengo que muitos dizem que é osso duro de roer. Com certeza, pessoal, o Flamengo quando cresce numa competição, o Flamengo fica forte, né? Quando cresce, fica difícil de fazer um jogo de igual para igual com o Flamengo, né? Então é isso, pessoal. Deixa a sua opinião, se inscreva aí no canal Mengão Malvadão e até a próxima, pessoal.